My name is Dan May, and I did my presentation on Does Outsourcing Benefit Companies? So what outsourcing is contracting to a third party, and what that means is rather than hiring in-house employees to work in your business, you hire a service provider that hires their own employees. So why is outsourcing an issue? Because there's pros and cons to outsourcing. We'll start off by talking about the pros first. The first one is cost savings. It's typically much more cost efficient to hiring outsourcing providers rather than in-house employees. You don't have to deal with benefits and things of that nature. Secondly, you usually get better quality service with outsourcing. They usually have more competition within the field, and so they strive to work harder and provide their better quality service. Thirdly, they have access to specialized services. With in-house employees, you don't typically get the experience that they get with outsourcing, because outsourcing specializes in specific services, and so they're much better at their service. Fourth, contractual obligation. Everything that is written in your contract with that service provider is held accountable, and so you don't have to deal with in-house employees arguing over certain things. Fifth is staffing. You don't need to hire all the in-house employees. Instead, you just hire the service provider, and they'll hire their own employees. Sixth, it's much lower risk to have outsourcing rather than in-house employees, because you don't have to deal with people getting injured, lawsuits, and anything that's not in the contract. And lastly, capacity management. Outsourcing providers usually have much larger capacity than in-house employees, and also you don't have to deal with laying off in-house employees. That's done within the service. So let's move on to the cons. The first one is verbal barriers. With outsourcing, they tend to have more foreign immigrants, and with that you get accents, people who don't speak English, and things like that, and that can often make communication difficult between your business and the staffing from the outsourced company. Secondly, the outsourced providers don't typically know your company as well as you do, and so they're basically working to make their money and get out of there rather than make your company or business a better organization overall. Third is staff turnover. Within an outsourcing company, if the staff decides to turn on management or strike, then you're held accountable for that, because they won't be working for you, and you have to go out of your way and find a new contractor or service provider for that specific need. And lastly is expansion. If your company is expanding nationally or globally, it's typical that the outsourcing provider won't be doing that as well, and so you'll have to find a different provider or outsourced contractor to hire for these new locations that you're moving to. So is outsourcing for you? Well, that depends. You have to look at your company goals and the direction that your company is headed in. Will this benefit your company or make things worse? Lastly, are there more benefits and opportunities? You got to weigh out the pros and cons and see what makes more sense to your company, what works, what doesn't. Is it financially good for your company, or is it bad? What's the quality of service like for in-house employees opposed to outsourcing? And you just got to ask yourself all those questions, and in the end determine what's better for your company.